And then that
You
was
won a Grey Cup your second year?
third year with
Third year,
Montreal.
yeah.
When they released me, and I went to Montreal, like, it's just suiting that I played Edmonton, Edmonton released me, and then I went to Montreal, and ended up playing in the Grey Cup and beating
That was
them.
in
Like, it's just,
2002.
yeah,
Yeah, we played
yeah,
against each other. You
yeah,
beat us at home. I
yeah,
remember that game
yeah,
pretty well,
yeah. That's
actually.
what I'm saying. It was just, it was just kind of like, is it? It's like a Cinderella tale, man. Is this actually happening? I'm like, the same team that released me, I'm playing them in the Grey Cup final now, and here I am, like, redemption. I was like, wow. And at that point, I'm like, I should just stop. I was like, I should just stop now. Nah, I'm gonna keep going. I'm like, I'll keep
That's right.
going. Hey, keep going.
That's right. Yeah. So what would you, if you're talking to a young player, and I'm just throwing these off the cuff now because it's a
Yep,
great
yep.
conversation. But if you're talking to a young player, and you're looking at your career from a 2,000-foot lens, what do you feel about your relationships with coaches and players? Like, overall, is there any advice you give?
Oh yeah, I'd say, if anything, my godson's playing in Calgary, and he was in the NFL for 3.5 years, and I trained him in the off season. I'm like, man, you have to build relationships, and you have to be humble. You have to work hard. Pay attention to what the guys beside you are doing, and take notes, man. I said, always take notes. Don't go in there with a big ego thinking, because there's always someone that's a little bit better and you can be replaced. Don't think you're irreplaceable. Like, have some humility, and listen to what coaches are telling you, and just wait you'll get your turn. But in the meantime, just work on your craft to make yourself better. That's the advice I would get, because I didn't have that. I'm like, I'm hot-headed. If you don't play me, I'm out.
I didn't
Release me. I don't care. I'm like, I don't care. Release me. Someone will pick me up. I know I'm good. I mean, and I say, I feel blessed sometimes that I didn't make the NFL, because my ego would be like, there wouldn't be enough space for my ego.
I've said it more than once, man. I'm a saved man, and it's not. If I would have made the NFL, I don't know if there'd be any saving me.
Oh man, but it's so easy to fall into that vortex. And I just tell athletes now, like, if you get an opportunity, like, man, stay humble. Like, just be gracious and have gratitude with where you're at, because it's not a long ride. So enjoy it, network, make your connections, and be accountable, be attentive to, like, what's going on around you. Really soak it up and learn the same things that you're applying for your practices and, the training. That's going to come and play a huge role in your life later on in life when you're in the workforce. Like the same preparation, if you have that same mentality and you develop good habits and you're consistent at being consistent, man, the world's your oyster, legit. You can do whatever you want. But if you're negligent and you're careless and you're reckless, it's short.
It marks you.
It's short. Yeah.
Yeah. It marks you, and people know that. They see that mark, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So then you were ready, and now you got into firefighting before you got into safety, correct?
Yeah. I got in the fire EMS. That was cool. I mean, it's very similar mentality. Camaraderie's there. You get to train. The adrenaline, and okay, we have 4 minutes to do this or 8 minutes to do this. Like, go, and it's like high pressure. It's no different than playing in front of 40,000. It's the same thing. It's just you have a team and you rely on your teammates to do the job. What's your job? To get you guys water. What's your job? My job's to knock down the door. Cool. So if you get me water and he knocks down the door, I can go in with the hose and handle it. And it's like, cool. It's no different than running the play. Everyone's got a job to do. And the better that people get at doing their jobs, the more efficient you are at being and saving lives or prolonging life. And I enjoyed it. I worked in an integrated department. We were fire and EMS. So unfortunately for us, even though we were on an engine, we're still running codes, pushing drugs into people for whatever reason. So I personally
explain that for me. Break that down.
So in a lot of departments, depending on where you're at, fire is fire. So they just do fire calls. Maybe they'll go and help the ambulance attendants to, lift bodies, because a lot of times you'll see EMS shows up, they need more hands. In an integrated department, all the firefighters are medics. So not only do we do the fire aspect, but we also do the EMS. So just because we're on an engine, we still will run a code. And if someone's, needs to be intubated or whatever, we still will do what they do on the ambulance. We just have more hands, and everyone's medically trained. So when we roll up on the scene, not only will we cut you out, we'll cut you out push drugs, give you an IV, get you set up. So when the ambulance comes, we're like, here you go, he's stable. See ya.
Wow. So how long was
Yeah.
your education for that? That's a transition from football to.
Oh yeah. No, it's a process because your EMT training is about a year, and then you go to med school. Depending on how you do, that's another maybe year and a half, 2 years, depending on how you do and where you go. And then you got to do your fire training, which is another, you could say, year. You know, so it's about a 3-year commitment because you got to start your EMR, then you do your EMT, then you do your medic, then you do your fire, and it's you know it's pretty time consuming because it's like full time.
Yeah.
You know, so again, you commit to something, you're going to do it. Just do it full time. So yeah, I mean, it was cool. Again, being around the fellas, it's like being in the locker room with the guys all the time, and there's a lot of downtime, man, which is great. We eat well. You know, you hear a lot of stories about, oh, fire guys, they sit around, they sleep, and they eat well. Yeah, we do. We actually do. But I'll tell you this, when the codes and tones go off, it's straight business, man. It's
Well, I think
straight,
there's a real
okay.
correlation there between playing and fire too, because you know, I mean, how many times do you hear a head coach say, "Go home and get some rest"? You know, you play in 2 days. 2 days before the game, you're resting after practice, and you're
Yeah.
supposed to be feet up. You know, get
Yeah.
lots of liquids, right? So it
Right.
makes sense that you're resting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you
Yeah.
evolved from there into safety.
Yeah. Just COVID, man. COVID kind of, just COVID came, and I'm like, I just didn't enjoy being around sick people all the time. They came up with COVID and the exposure of people being sick and just having that like in your face burnt a lot of people out. And I'm like, man, I don't want to be on the ambulance because it just seemed like whenever I was going to work, someone was sick and they're like, hey, I'm the lowest guy on the totem pole. Bad or not, they're like, we're going to bump you over. And I'm like, man, I was very good at my job. I just didn't like it. I didn't like working on the ambulance. I'm okay with it. I just don't like it. I prefer just to be on the engine. So I thought, what can I do to maybe I need to transition out. And I noticed a lot of my coworkers were like starting to burn out, you know, extended leaves and whatnot. And I'm like, maybe the writing's on the wall. So I'm like, let me just take some time. Maybe I'll go to school, take a couple courses. And I before I got in the fire, you know, I was looking into EMS and safety. And I'm like, and I looked into it. I'm like, okay, I'll just try safety. I thought maybe I could bring a different dynamic in the department. And then I got into it because I had fire EMS. I'm like, I don't want to do something totally different.
Mm-hmm.
And then sure enough, I got into it, and I'm like, let me just try it. Let me just try it. See if it's, you know, and I'm like, I think there's something here. Less stress on the body. I don't have to be on the ambulance. It's the same, you know, with as far as like policy and procedures. I'm like, okay, you know what? I think, then I took a leave of absence from work, and I think I'm going to do this full time. And everyone was like, you're going to what? You're just going to, I'm like, yeah, like, what's wrong with that? Oh, you're crazy. It's the greatest job. Yeah, it is. But if you're doing something you don't like it, why are you doing it? You know what I mean? I'm a true believer of if you have to like what you're doing. If you don't like it, then why are you doing it? Because it's comfortable, because it's easy. I'm okay with uneasy. You know, I'm okay with yeah. If it's uneasy, it's more motivation to work. That's how I've been wired. If it's easy, it's so easy to be complacent. So I committed to it. I started. I'm like, okay, I did my certificate, and I'll do my diploma. And I was working with a pretty big construction company, Bird. And I'm like, hey, let me go. You know, I committed to the 2-in-1. I've never done that before. I'm like, I'll try. So I'm living in camp. I'm working 12-hour days, 10-hour days, and I'm doing courses. Sometimes I got 2-3 courses at once. Got my screens up. I got three screens. My daily stuff for work, my projects and assignments for school, and I'm handling it, man. I'm handling it, and I'm not complaining because no one's going to listen anyway. No one cares. But I'm like, if I can actually do this and do and keep I got it made in the shade. Like I can do anything. So I'm like, cool. I'm just going to transition over. And then I just learned this. You know, the new talk and safety is like leadership, and I really kind of like pay attention to those who are in charge and how they lead and how they influence. And I really pay attention to that. And I'm like, I need to fine tune and work on my craft. No different than I got to work on my technique. Coach says your technique's sloppy.
So let me ask you a question on that exact thing. So you've seen leadership from a professional athlete's point of view. You've seen the business side of that game, which is, as anybody who's played knows, is a heartless game. Even when you love people, it's heartless. It just is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And now you've seen leadership from an industrial point of view. And if you're with Bird, then it's construction and it's, I've been on projects with you guys. It's all, it's not easy work. It's 12s and it's 10 in a row, or 14 in a row, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So is there anything that you would have liked to see go from leadership in industry to leadership in football? And then I'm going to follow up with a B going the other way. So first of all, is there anything that you've learned since your football career that you think would be something that would be beneficial, like since you started in safety, that would be beneficial for your previous life?
Just the communication and the understanding of, we're bringing you in, we're going to set you up for success, we're going to make sure you're confident, we're going to make sure you understand what you're doing, and this is what we want from you. Actually having that sit down and just having a good like base understanding of what we expect, what the expectations are for the organization, how you fit into this, and where we want to go. I think if looking back, that's what I would like to see, the onboarding process, the onboarding piece, because coming into the pro sports, like I didn't have a lot of guidance. Like I wasn't a kid that had parents who were, okay, this is where you're going to go to school, and this is why. I've been playing sports since I was like 5, and I've been an elite level athlete my whole life. Like most people don't know this, but baseball, soccer, hockey, you name it, I play at a very high level, national level. And soccer football was like the last sport that I chose because my coaches didn't piss me off. I quit baseball, coaches pissed me off. I had a tryout with the Braves when I was 15, 16 as a pitcher. Soccer, had an opportunity to go play over in Europe. I was being recruited in the States, Notre Dame, all these colleges for soccer. I was a really good soccer. I still am really good on the pitch, but a lot of people don't know that. Hockey, same thing. And just the onboarding piece of coaches saying, this is how we see you, this is how we value you, this is what we think you can do, and this is how we want to help you get there, or vice versa. I think that piece, had I had that, I think a lot of the decisions I would have made in regards to sports would have been different. And I look back at now when you get,
sorry, maybe less teams would have irritated you had you had that.
100%, and I wouldn't have been like, okay, because I don't get my own way, I'm out. Like I knew my value, but it was never really laid out for me. Like, hey, you need to be patient. You need to don't worry, you'll get your opportunity. Here's the system. We're gonna integrate you in the system. It may take 2 or 3 years. As long term. I always wanted the short term. I wanted the short term and the immediate. I wanted the immediate accolades of what it is to be successful. Like I want to see it now. I don't want to wait 2 years. Well, you can't. In 2 years, you're going to be a starter. No, I want to be a starter. No. We want you to work because there's a lot of things that come with it. The poise, the composure, and we want to make sure I want it now. You know what I mean? And not really understanding how that transitions as an athlete. And again, when you think about it as an athlete, you're selfish, you're self-absorbed to it. You have to be to an extent, but there's levels to it, right? And you have to, I say you have to have some humility. It's okay to be like, I'm the man. That's okay. Have some humility, because when you have to eat that humble piece of pie, it's not nice. So that definitely just I'd say the transition of, okay, let's make sure that you're confident and you understand what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, how you're supposed to do it. And when your piece fits into the grand scheme of things, understanding that's like, okay, so I don't need to be the man. I'm okay. And again, when you first come in the league, it's like, would you rather be a starter on a losing team or be a backup on a winning team? If I asked you that in your first 2 or 3 years of the league, you'd be like, I definitely want to start. I don't care. We'll win eventually. But as you get in, it's like, you know what? I'm okay with taking a backup role as long as I can contribute to the greater good of us winning. And then, again, another message I carry to kids now. I'm like, everyone wants to be the man. Like, my son is 12, he plays football, hockey, and lacrosse. And I tell these kids, like, every time you go through in a shift, like, everyone wants to score, but maybe that's not your role. And it's okay, but there's other ways you can contribute. And the kids are starting to, like, absorb it. I'm like, you got to give me a pound of flesh. I'm like, I need a pound of flesh every game, and that's your contribution. So if you got to take a stick off the chin, a ball off the shin, whatever it is, I want a pound of flesh. And all the kids in the lacrosse team have this gnarly bruise on their triceps from being cross-checked. They all have it. Yeah. And that's their badge of honor. Like, they sell out. So, truly learning what it means to be a team player, I think, Dan, really.
That's what you'd bring back up. Like, so if you went from football or from sports to industry, then it's
100%.
I can't agree more. That's just well put. Listen, man, this has been awesome. I still have some more questions, so I'm going to keep on going because you still got time for me? Okay, good.
Of course.
So what kind of mistakes have you seen since in safety in your role now? And obviously not outing anybody. Obviously we don't do that, right? But like, what kind of common mistakes do you see in the industry, that where people are being let down? In terms
common
of
mistakes.
So like, you just gave me a lot on communication, but in terms of communication, what kind of common mistakes do you see? Yeah, that's it.
I'd say over-promising and under-delivering. That's a common thing that I see. A lot of companies will over-promise. Oh, we're going to do this, and they never follow through. And when I say over-promise and delivering, not actually listening to what people are saying. Hey, we're going to do this. It's no different than in a coach. You're in a game, and your coach keeps calling the same play, and we're like, coach is not working. Why? Because what they're running, we're outnumbered. Like, why are we trying to run this play when we're outnumbered? Like, you got to change it. And then coach doesn't listen. It's the same thing. A lot of companies will they talk and they preach that they're all about safety and they're all about, but they don't really listen to what the people who are actually doing the work are actually saying. And if they listen, it's like, okay, what's the common ground? Everyone's worried about money, and they think, oh, well, if I buy this piece of equipment or get this piece of PPE, or if we do this, and it's going to cost the company lots of money. No, in actuality, it's going to save you a ton more, because when people feel valued and acknowledged and heard, they're happier. When you have happy workforce, they're more efficient. So if I have to spend $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 up front in the front end, I'm going to save a ton of money in the back end, because when people aren't happy and they're not, being heard, they tune off. And when you tune off, mistakes happen, your incidents go up, and you can see the trends in, the key performance indicators. Next thing you know, you're having accidents, incidents at work where people now are getting mangled, and now your premiums are going up. So it costs you almost 3-4 times what had you just spent the money up front, to make people happy. I don't know, something simple as hearing aids. If you're a small company, you're going to spend thousands, your budget, whatever, thousands of dollars on getting earplugs for people. You're a small company. Just get everyone custom hearing aids, for example. You can get molded hearing aids.
Yep. Hearing
protection, as an example. Hey, you know what? My company cares about me. We got these, awesome molded hearing protection. And it's cool. Like, thanks. Like, they're personalized to my ears. Do you know how happy that makes some people? And I'm saying, just as a metaphor, something that simple. And again, the money you would spend on a yearly basis buying new boxes, like, if you broke it down, it's like, well, actually, it's cheaper to spend, I don't know, $6,000. And I'm just throwing out random numbers, $5,000. It's cheaper to spend $5,000 one time than every month to send out and get a bill for, $400 or $500. You're going to spend 5 times that, because people usually throw them out.
Yep.
So communication and just listening, and again, having an understanding of, if you're going to say something, like, walk the talk, man. Don't just spit noise and verbiage because it sounds good, and because you're the CEO and sorry for speaking, because you can say stuff. don't be that guy. Like, be intentional with what you're trying to say and do, and people will follow, man.
Awesome.
People will follow.
Listen, man, you've given me some great, some just great material here, and I really appreciate it. I want to ask this question. I know we might go over some stuff again here, but I'm just going to throw this at you. You have one son. How many kids do you have?
One boy, his name's Mateo. Yeah, one daughter, Avea.
Mateo and Avea. If you could have them follow 5 rules from now until they became full adults, what would you have them follow?
5 rules. 5 rules. One would be always be intentional with your actions, for sure. Another one would be kind. One of the rules I'd probably have to say, always make your bed. Right? Another rule, always try to do your best and be the best you can be at everything you can. And is that 3 or 4? Is that 4? And I think the last one, if I had to pick one rule, the last one, the 5th rule, I have to think about that one. Give me one sec. What would the 5th rule be? I think always look out for one another. That would be a rule.
Yeah.
Like you guys need to take care of one another. Always do your best, look out for one another, try to be the best, but you two as brother and sister need to, I think that's just a rule. That's a rule in my house now. Like you guys are responsible for one another. I don't care if you're younger or older, like when your mom and dad are gone, you guys need to legitimately look out for one another. And we're at this pace because he's 12 and she's 6 going on 28. And we are adamant that they need to love each other unconditionally. Like it's a staple in our house. And if you don't, well then cool. I guess there's consequences that you guys need to figure it out. She's going places in life, Dan. I can tell you, she's going places, man. Like she could be an astronaut, she could be the prime minister. No one's stopping her. That is for sure.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
What about you, man?
Life is good, man. Life is good for me.
That's good. I'm glad.
It was a tough transition from football into life.
It was. You died twice. You died twice, man. They say you died twice.
Yeah. Randy Chevrier put it in a way that I thought was really interesting. I don't know if you ever talked to him, but he's a whack job. He's crazy, but I love him. And he says it's like being a pirate. You're on this pirate ship, and you can pretty much do whatever you want on the pirate ship. And you got all your buddies with you. You're on the sea, and you're just rolling along, and you're on this pirate ship, and life is good. And you can break a few rules and get away with it. And then one day you get kicked off the ship, but the ship has to keep on going on. And
100%.
Go on, and you're like, well, I need another ship, but you don't know what to do. So, we did some planning. I did some work ahead of time. I got into safety too, right? So I was planning on that for 2010. So. But
that's good.
It's still a transition, man. Still a transition.
It's huge. And I don't think coming into professional sports, I don't think there is a good enough educational component in prepping people for that. Like I met a guy from the NHL here a few years ago, and I remember he was kind of going through, like he was, actually here in Edmonton, his name is Mark Letestu. And I just remember us having a conversation because he was a premier, hockey player with the Oilers. And then it kind of got into he's a free agent. Well, not a free agent, but he wasn't getting much time. Talks of trades. And I just, we had a conversation just like we were at a function. I was like, so what are you thinking about after? And he's like, I haven't, what? Like, it never really crossed my mind. I'm like, you should probably start thinking about it. And he was like, really? I was like, yeah. He's like, why? I'm like, because it's one of the hardest things to do. You're so used to this lifestyle and playing whatever. And then all of a sudden you're not playing anymore. And I said, you played, for an extended period of time. And now you're a vet, and now it's a salary cap issue. And eventually they're going to make you take less and less until eventually you're either going to say no or, you're going to start yourself. And he was like, that's so interesting. So I said, so if you were to stop playing today, like I just asked him, like, what would you do? He's like, I don't even know. And I said, you should probably start thinking about that. And then the next time I see him, he's like, thanks for that conversation, because I would never. But I was like, as an athlete, it doesn't cross your mind.
Well, and it's interesting.
You know what I mean?
I did some coaching last year for the local town team here, the varsity team, and there was a kid
Right.
on the team who's no lineman, real talented kid, had some injury issues, knees, going on him, but big, strong, athletic, best lineman we had likely. Like I can say that pretty confidently. But he had injury issues, and he wants to be a fireman, and he wasn't going to go on to university to play anywhere, and
right.
so he called me this year, and he'd had a concussion, and he said, I want to just have a talk with you. Maybe you can help me figure out how to go, what doctor to go to, because of course everybody thinks I'm going to help him with something like this, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, dude, I'm not going to get you papers to play if you've had a concussion. that's not happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I said to him, I said, listen, buddy, like what are you going to do after? He says, I'm going to be a fireman. I said, well, how many games are left in season? He says 6. I said, so you're going to play 6 more games with 2 busted knees and a busted head, and you want to be a fireman when it's over, and there's no end game for you playing. You're just playing because you love football and because the guys want you to play.
Right.
Yeah. I said, maybe you shouldn't. And I just wonder, sometimes athletes need to be told to quit. Because he quit.
Yeah.
He quit. And I talked to the coach about it. The coach was happy. He ended his career at that point as a player. And now he's going to go to school and be a fireman. And I know he's got a shot,
Yeah.
Nobody tells us to quit.
Huge. No. No one. And so you just keep going.
Tell me to quit, man. At 38, they still want me to come back. And while the coaches didn't anymore because they knew I was done, but they don't.
Yeah.
No one says it, right? They think it.
Yeah.
And
even as an athlete, you don't even want to hear it. You're like, you're not even trying to hear it. Why? No, I still can. Well, let's just have a candid conversation about, like, maybe you shouldn't. No, I'm good. I can. And it's like, well, what if you can't? What if something presents itself to you where you can't anymore? That the thought of that is like, well, okay, I'll be out for a short period, but I'll come back. I'll rehab and come back. That's how we're wired, man. That's why we're there, because we've learned to persevere. However, you got to be smart.
Yeah. Be
smart about it and think long term. Like, if you're going to play sports, and I tell athletes, if you get an opportunity to play, think about long term. Even guys in safety now, it's like, hey man, you shouldn't do that, because if you continue to do this, there's a good chance you might be, I don't know, eating steak through a straw. Maybe you should think about that. Maybe you should actually think, my back's hurt. Well, I know your back's hurt. Maybe you should get checked out, or I'm having chest pain. I'll be fine. Well, it could be any scenario. Same thing. It's like,
deviance, right? Keep on breaking the same rule over and over again, and eventually it bites you in the butt, right? That's just what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So live and learn, I guess, and just try to pass on. All we can do is try to pass on that our experiences and what we learn and how it correlates to what people are doing and why they should or shouldn't be doing what they're doing. And they're either going to listen or they're not. That's how I see it. If you're the right mindset, if you're the right, your vibe's your tribe. So depending on whatever company you have, whoever's leading the ship, if they're the right people and they got, the like-minded individuals, stuff gets done. And I use, it's no different in sports or even the fire department, because in the fire department, we're all kind of like the same, like-minded. We all kind of work together to kind of accomplish the same goal, and we all think alike.
Well, and if I may, you're the ones that run towards the fire. And there's a lot of people that don't.
Yeah. So we have to know like what's happening. So if there's things that are set in place and policies and procedures, and this is what, before we run into the house, we snag a hydrant. We get water. How fast can you get water? I can get your water in under 2 minutes. Okay, cool. So I know that I have 90 seconds to get my stuff on. By the time I crack the hose, water's coming from the hydrant. Cool. Amazing. Just knowing that, you know what I'm saying? I know when I run this counter, he's going to pull and kick that dude out. So I'm going to really sell this. And as soon as he pulls across my face, I'm hitting the hole. Cool. I know that when I go and set up this Zoom boom, and I'm going to move this, whatever, this is supposed to happen. I'm going to get direction from my spotter. Oh, wait, my spotter's having a smoke. Oh, I backed up. 7 feet instead of 6 feet, and now I hit something and cause. It's all relative to, do you have the right system? Do you have the right people? And most importantly, do you have the right people leading?
Yeah.
I'm sure and I'm sure you've heard, and a lot of companies, they want to do well. They probably really do, Dan. They really want it. Well, we want to have a safe culture. We want people to be safe. That sounds great. It sounds great on paper. It looks fantastic. This is our company mission statement. Sounds fantastic. But when you actually peel back the layers, and no one's around, no one's looking, are those people that are working, are they doing the things they're supposed to be doing consistently? You know what I'm saying? Like, are you?
Yeah.
It's no different when I say in the off season, you're supposed to train in the off season. You're a receiver. You're supposed to be running track. Are you actually really running track when no one's around? You know what I mean? It's no different, man. It's no different than your morning check-ins or your pre-check. It's all the same. And I just find, being an athlete, you have routines and you're consistent. Most people don't understand that. So when I go to work and I do the same thing, this is my routine. People are like, "Man, what are you doing?" This is how I get ready. I come in, I set my stuff here. I do this. I fire this up. I check my email. I do the same thing, just about every day. They're like, "But why are you doing that? Like, no one's here. Doesn't matter. It still has to be done." Do you know what I mean? And it's just like, it's the paramilitary mindset. Call it what you want. It's just that's how things get done. Consistency. So I try to preach it.
When I speak, sometimes I refer to football as a habit creation machine.
Yeah.
And it teaches you how to, like, just what you're talking right there. You could slip that right into the end of my presentation. Like, it's exactly what happens. Is you teach yourself that if every morning I get up and I read the Bible, then every morning I get up and read the Bible. What does that mean? That means I started my day the way I want to start my day every day.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't learn that from my dad. I learned a lot of good things from my dad. I learned that from football.
Yeah.
It was one of those things, right? It's This has been wonderful, man. I really appreciate it.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I'm glad I had an opportunity to sit and rap with you, man. It's cool.
Yeah. I'm coming to town.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Okay.
October 2nd, I'm coming to town. Let's grab a beverage.
Let's get it.
All right, man.
Let's get it.